You are what I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for.
In today's Chop It Up inspired project, I have a fun vintage library product inspiration. I'm going to be creating a little notebook out of some of this 12 by 12 paper. And you can do this with any 12 by 12 paper. It can be single-sided or double-sided. I'm using this double-sided paper today, and I'm going to flip through this book and pick out a couple of pages that I want to work with. So I've got 2 pages that measure 12 by 12, and I'm going to cut them down to 10 inches. Now I'm cutting off the bottom part because the orientation needs to be upright, so I'm cutting this down to 10 inches, and then I'm going to slide it in my paper trimmer and cut it down to 5 inches. So I'll have 2 pieces that measure 5 by 12. And then I'll do this to the second piece of paper as well. I'm cutting off the bottom part. I'm going to cut off the 2 inches there, so cutting at 10, sliding it in my paper trimmer to 5, and then I'll have a total of 4 pieces that measure 5 by 12. I'm using a Tonic Studios rotary trimmer by Tim Holtz. This is my favorite trimmer. I've tried them all, and believe me, this one is the best. I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and we're going to make some scores into all of these papers. So I'm going to line it up across the 12-inch side, and I'm going to score at 3, at 6, and at 9 inches. And then I'm going to flip the paper over and repeat the scores over again. So 3, 6, and 9 inches. Now the reason why I do this is because we're going to be folding the papers both ways, so I want to make sure I don't get any cracking. Alright, so I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to start folding. I'm going to decide which piece I want for the front cover of my little booklet. And I want these books here to be the front. So I'm going to fold that up and then fold the middle section back and then fold the last section up again. So it kind of looks like this. We've got like an M going on here, okay? And I'm going to do that to all of my pages. I'm creasing the folds with my bone folder, and there's a little excess hanging over, so you can just trim that away, get rid of any of that excess. If that doesn't bother you, can just leave it alone. Okay, so now here we go. We've got our first page here. The middle section that's popping up, that part is going to be glued together. So when we close our little booklet, we're going to have that little middle page sealed up, so you're not going to see the back side. So once I get all of my pages laid out in the orientation or in the order that I want them to go in, and figure out which piece is going to be my front cover and my back cover, I'm going to start making some thumb notches in these papers to create little pockets in between each page that's sealed together. So I'm just putting everything in order here, and we're going to adhere them together like this. And then we'll move on to the next step. I'm going to punch some thumb notches on that second panel, right in the center at the top, and then on the last panel I'm going to punch a thumb notch on the side. And we're going to do that to all of the papers, punching them the same except the last cover. The last cover is not going to get a side thumb notch, and you'll see why as we go along. So I'm going to grab some liquid glue. I've just got the back side of my paper. This is my front cover here, and I'm going to close up that middle pocket. So I'm going to apply adhesive across the bottom and on the one side. And then I'll fold this up in half and seal those edges down, pressing in all that glue, making sure that I've got good contact and everything is glued together nice and straight. I use my bone folder to adhere down that adhesive. If there's any excess, it'll ooze out and I'll just wipe that away. So now we have a little finger notch in the top of the middle page as a little pocket. Okay, so I'm gone ahead and done that to all of them except the last page. The very last page does not have a thumb notch in it, and I've got my book lined up in the order that I want it to be. I'll grab a corner rounder and I'm going to round the outside corners of all of my pages. So just the corners on the right, at the top, and the bottom. So I'll just round all of those corners off, making sure that everything is lined up and nice and even and straight. and punch away those corners. This will just soften up the edges of the book and give it a more complete look. Okay, so I'll go through and do all of those corner rounds, and then we're going to start adhering things together. That's a lie. We're going to do some distressing first. I've got my distress ink and my distress ink blending buddy. This is a little 3D printed holder that I have available on my website if you're interested. And this is a great little tool to hold your distress inks and distress oxides. And then it also has a little resting place for my blending tool. So my vintage photo is always sitting inside of this distress ink holder. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up all of the edges here with my distress ink. And you might want to do this before you glue everything together. You'll be able to ink up those pockets a little bit easier. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to run through and distress all of those edges. And now we're going to start adhering the book together. So I'm taking my front cover and I'm holding my thumb where that little thumb notch is on the side, and I'm not going to apply adhesive to that side. I'm just going to do the top, the bottom, and the back. And then I'll grab the second page and I'll line it up right up against that thumb notch, making sure everything is nice and straight, and press in all that adhesive. There we go. So we have 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages, and the next one has a thumb notch in it. I'm going to hold the thumb notch, apply adhesive on the top, the side, and the bottom, leaving the space where the thumb notch is. I'm not putting any adhesive there. And then I'll take my next piece, making sure that I'm not grabbing the part with a thumb notch. I'm grabbing just the full sheet there, and I'll press that right into the next page on my book, squeezing in all that adhesive, and I'm making sure that if any adhesive is oozing out, that my pages aren't sticking together. So that's why I keep checking the pages. Every time I glue something down, I always want to make sure that the pages don't get glued together. Well, I want to glue the pages together, but I want to make sure that the pages that aren't supposed to be glued don't get stuck. So now we have our last piece, and you'll see there's only a thumb notch in the top of this one. There's no thumb notch on the back page because that's like basically our cover, and I don't want to put a thumb notch there. So I'm pressing in all that adhesive, and I'll close this up and squeeze and make sure everything is sealed together nice and tight, wiping away any of that extra adhesive that might be oozing out from the sides, and making sure that I get good contact with all of my pages. And there we go. Our book is now adhered together. Super quick and simple. And I just kind of rotate it around and flip it around just to make sure that none of the pages that shouldn't be glued aren't stuck together. The next thing I want to do is to create a little belly band closure. So I'm taking one of the offcut scraps that I had from the beginning of this video, and I'm just going to line it up onto the center of the back of the book and wrap it around just gently, and just kind of creasing those edges with my finger. And then I'll take my scissors and cut away any of the excess. Okay, so I'm just pressing it to make sure that it fits nicely and it's gonna fit around the book with ease. And then I'm gonna grab my distress ink and ink up those edges now. Now I've got some creased edges on the sides, so I wanna highlight those and then also distress the edges of the paper. So then everything ties together nicely and it's got a gorgeous aged look to it. And I really like this page with all of those little handwritten letters. It's really cute. Next, I'm going to grab a couple of basic gray magnets, and I'm going to create a little magnet closure on this little belly band flap here. So I'll apply one magnet on the underside, and then I'll round all the corners, and then I'll come back and re-ink my corners again, just to make sure that there's no white edges there. And I'll apply those two magnets to close everything up. I did punch out a little 5/8 inch circle out of a scrap piece just to cover up the magnet on the front part so that you wouldn't really see it. And then I'll just grab my bone folder and help sort of crease the sides in around the book so that it fits nicely and it's nice and squared off. And then there we go, we have a gorgeous magnet closure. And this cute little book is all ready to go. Now I have this little basket of scraps, every time I cut white cardstock and there are any small pieces, I always trim them down to this size. So they're perfect little tag sizes. They're also great for stamping sentiments and things like that. So I keep this little basket on my desk right at hand. And these little scrap pieces fit perfectly inside of my pockets. I'm slipping one into the top and one into the side. And they fit perfectly, but I decided I didn't like them. So I pulled them back out. I grabbed another one of those scraps and stuck it in, and I thought, no, I don't like this either. And then I remembered that I purchased the ephemera that goes along with the vintage library. So I'm just going to put all this stuff away and pull in my Stamperia ephemera box. Now this ephemera box I had made in a 3-part video a couple of weeks ago. I'll link to that video series in the description box and on screen. It's a really fun, quick and simple project, and I store all of these little file folders in here. And I also, whenever I create with my Stamperia papers, I never throw them away. I save them all because they're so gorgeous. So when I save those little scraps, I do collages with them. So little cutoffs like this, I create these little collage masterboards, and then I cut them into tags or background embellishments for my cards and things like that. So inside of this little file folder system that I created are all of my Stamperia ephemera. So I have this vintage library adhesive paper cutouts. I thought I had the chipboard ones too, but I guess I didn't have them. I was digging for them, but I couldn't find them. So I keep all of the collections in one envelope so that they're all together. So once I open them up, and then I have all these loose bits, I put them back into the little file folder system so that I can easily flip through and find what I want, and it really makes me happy. I love having this little box on my desk. So I'm opening up this adhesive paper cutouts, and they have like a little like metallic sheen to them, and I think they're really pretty. So I found a piece right away that I wanted to put on the front of my little belly band closure. It was a little clock or a little pocket watch, and I adhered that right down, and I loved it. I was super happy with it. The next thing I found was this gorgeous stack of books. I thought this was so pretty, and I kind of moved it around, and then I landed on the perfect spot. This darker part of the background, this was perfect. It allowed those books to really stand out, and I love the way it looks. So the thing about ephemera is that you can get really crazy. I could sit here all day playing with ephemera, trying to find where to put it in the perfect spot and decorate things, and I really, really love it. I love the Stamperia collections for that. Stamperia and 49 & Market both do this, and they have these whole bunch of collections and ephemera and laser cutouts and stickers and stuff that coordinate with the paper packs, and that just makes me so happy. So I decided to go with the little adventure label here and a little flower and adhered those things down, and I thought I could be here all day. We could do 6 hours of this, of me messing around with ephemera. So my mom happened to come into the craft room and was watching what I was doing here and decided she wanted this book when I was done. So I never finished embellishing it because my mother took it with her. She wants to put it in her purse and keep all her receipts and little lottery tickets and things like that inside of. So that's a great purpose for this little project. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this little quick inspiration, this little folio flip through pocket booklet thingy. I had so much fun creating it, and I mean, you can just really take this to the next level. The sky's the limit with these types of products. If you're interested in any of the products that I've used in this video today, you'll find everything linked in the description box down below. I really appreciate it if you decided to make a purchase. If you used my links, it helps support me and my channel, and it helps me to be able to buy more paper stuff to make and share with you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate all of the support. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Have yourself a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!